You did everything right. You skipped the vacations. You made coffee at home. You drove the old car for 3 more years. Every month, you moved money into your savings account, watched the number go up, and told yourself that one day it would be enough. But here is the part nobody told you. That number going up is lying to you. Not in an obvious way. Not in a way that shows up as a negative sign or a red alert on your phone. It lies quietly, politely, the way a bad investment advisor smiles while charging you fees you never noticed. You save more, the number grows, and somehow, the life you were saving for keeps getting slightly further away. This is not a story about bad habits or overspending. This is about a system most people never see. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Let us start with something simple. Imagine you put $100 under your mattress in the year 2000. Just left it there. 25 years later, you pull it out. Same note, same face on the bill. Still $100. Except now, that $100 buys you roughly $55 worth of what it bought you in 2000. The money did not move. The world moved around it. That is called inflation. And most people treat it like weather. Annoying, occasionally inconvenient, but ultimately outside their control. What they do not realize is that inflation is not a random act of nature. It is a built-in feature of how modern economies are designed to function. Prices are supposed to rise. That is the plan. And your savings account was never designed to outrun that plan. Here is the math that makes people uncomfortable. Over the last 25 years, the average savings account in most countries has paid somewhere between 0 and 2% interest per year. Meanwhile, the average annual rise in prices across that same period has hovered between 2 and 4%, sometimes higher. So if your savings account paid you 1.5% and prices went up 3%, you did not break even. You lost 1.5% of your purchasing power every single year. Quietly, automatically, without anyone asking your permission. Do that for 10 years and you have not saved money. You have stored a slowly melting block of ice and called it a treasure. Now here's where it gets interesting. Most people respond to this by saying, fine, I will just save more. Work harder, cut more expenses, build a bigger cushion. And on paper, that sounds like discipline. In practice, it is a treadmill. Because the more aggressively you save without deploying that money somewhere that beats inflation, the more you are feeding a machine that gently erodes what you have built. This is the part nobody puts in personal finance Instagram posts. Saving is not inherently bad. Saving is necessary. But saving as a final destination, as the goal itself, is a quiet catastrophe. It feels safe. It feels responsible. It is neither. Consider someone who saved $50,000 over 10 years and kept it in a standard savings account earning 1% annually. At the end of that decade, they have roughly $55,000 in the account. That feels like progress. But if prices rose 3% annually over that same period, the things that cost $50,000 when they started now cost $67,000. They saved diligently for a decade and ended up further behind than when they started. That is not a personal failure. That is arithmetic. But let us zoom out, because there's a bigger mechanism at work here. When you deposit money in a bank, the bank does not store it safely in a vault with your name on it. It lends that money out to businesses, to home buyers, to other consumers. The bank charges those borrowers 5, 7, 10% interest. Then it turns around and pays you 1%. The gap between those two numbers is essentially the bank's business model. You are the raw material. So when you save money, you're not opting out of the financial system. You are funding it at a discount while everyone else who borrowed that money and put it to work earns returns that dwarf yours. The people building wealth are not, by and large, the people with the biggest savings accounts. They're the people who took money and made it do something. Bought property that appreciated. Bought stakes in companies that grew. Started businesses. Created assets that generated returns. While the savers held the floor, the investors held the ceiling. This is not about risk tolerance or financial sophistication. It is about understanding what money actually is. Money sitting still is not neutral. It is in decline. It is an asset with a slow leak, and calling it safe is like calling a slowly deflating tire roadworthy. Now here is the part that carries some irony. The very qualities that make someone a good saver, patience, restraint, caution, delayed gratification, are the same qualities that can trap them in a savings mindset long past the point where it helps them. The discipline that was virtuous at the start becomes a ceiling. We were taught to save by people who lived through genuine scarcity, who remembered economic collapses where having cash in hand was survival. That lesson was real and it mattered. But the world those lessons came from had savings accounts paying 5, 6, 7% interest. The lesson got passed down intact while the conditions that made it true quietly disappeared. A generation raised on save more, spend less is now navigating a world where that advice, followed faithfully, produces slow financial erosion. And because the erosion is gradual and invisible, most people do not notice until years later when they realize the gap between their savings and the life they imagined has quietly widened. This is the part where most videos would tell you the answer. Buy this, do that, 5 steps to financial freedom. But the answer is not a product, and it is not a list. The uncomfortable truth is that there is no perfectly safe place to put money. Every option carries a trade-off. Leaving money in savings carries the slow, invisible risk of inflation. Moving it into other things carries the visible, sometimes dramatic risk of loss. Most people choose the invisible risk because it does not feel like risk. It feels like caution. That psychological sleight of hand is worth sitting with. Because the financial industry, the broader economic system, and even our cultural instincts around money all quietly push us toward a version of safety that serves the system more than it serves us. Banks need deposits. Governments need stable consumer behavior. And a population of careful savers who keep their money accessible and passive is, from a systemic perspective, extremely useful. None of this is a conspiracy. It is just incentives. But when your incentives and the system's incentives are not aligned, it is worth knowing which side you are accidentally working for. So here's where we land. The person who saves every month, watches the balance climb, and feels the quiet satisfaction of responsibility is not doing something wrong. They're doing something that requires an upgrade. Saving is the foundation. It was never supposed to be the whole building. The question that actually matters is not how much you're saving. It is whether what you're saving into is keeping pace with the world moving around it. And the harder question, the one that does not have a comfortable answer, is this. If the system is designed so that money sitting still loses value, and money moving through the system mostly enriches the system, and the options available to ordinary people all carry some form of cost or risk, then what exactly is the right move for someone who is not wealthy enough to absorb losses, but not poor enough to qualify for the kind of help that might matter? That question does not have a clean answer. But it might be the most important financial question most people never think to ask. Most people will watch this, nod, and change nothing. Hit subscribe if you are the kind of person who actually does something with what they learn.